Kia ora koutou katoa. No mai haere mai ki te kura umanga. Ko te mai ki hihiko. So kia ora everyone and welcome to UC Business School's hihiko webinar series. Our topic here tonight is marketing in the new normal, and I have a fabulous panel here to discuss some marketing strategies with. My name is Michelle Polglase. I'm a digital strategist and an alumni of UC's Business School's MBA program. I enjoy working with high growth companies, and I'm working with a startup called Playbooks at the moment. So there's a real challenge to build a brand's personality and profile from scratch. And these guys have got some interesting insights on that tonight. So let me introduce my panel. We have Jane Anthony, Chief Customer Officer of Z Energy. So Jane has a focus on marketing, product development, customer experience, and loyalty, and is passionate about the role of marketing in leading organizational change. We have Professor Ekant Veer, Professor of Marketing at UC. He's a multi-award-winning teacher and researcher and is passionate about the role of marketing in driving social change, community well-being, and the impact of digital technology. And our final panelist, we have Mike Perot, who is quite literally Mike Perot, the brand Kiwis trust. He's a master of personalized marketing, and his name is synonymous with mortgages and with real estate. In his own words, he started life on the poor side of town. He left school at 16, became a motorcycle mechanic, was a company director at 21, an airline pilot at 28, and started his own brand at 30. So welcome to you all. And to those of you who've just joined our webinar, welcome as well. So, you know, post-COVID, it's a really challenging time for businesses, and these challenging times are going to be continuing. So we're going to start straight into it here tonight, and I'm going to throw this to the panel. How important is it to be responsive in a crisis? So Air New Zealand has certainly got a bit of flack for not being particularly responsive. Their Chief Revenue Officer, Cam Wallace, has had to step up into that communications role. I'm going to throw that out there to you guys. How important is it to be responsive?
I can start if you like. So it's really important. One of the things through the crisis we found at Z is that actually the more responsive you can be and the more you can understand your customers' mindsets and kind of what they're feeling, the better that you can kind of help them, provide them certainty. So the one thing is kind of with the void of communication, stuff just gets made up. So if you can kind of provide as much certainty as possible, you know, through that time, then, you know, that's a critical thing. So responsiveness is, you know, essential to being able to do that.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think I was reflecting on the title of this korero about, you know, the new normal. And I think the reality is we're not going to have a time of normal. If you look at the last 10 years in Christchurch or the last 20, 30 years globally, there's always going to be something that's disruptive. There's always going to be something that's going to throw a curveball out there. And so being agile, being able to adapt quickly, to be responsive to crises that happen on a regular basis is going to be super important if companies are going to not just survive, but also thrive as time goes on. So it's going to have to be part and parcel of life. I think when brands and firms are thinking, well, I'll just wait until things settle down and then I'll do that big thing I'm wanting to do, I just can't see that happening in the near future. So I think just being responsive, like Jane said, being able to communicate as well, just in that void, speculation becomes such a huge part. You need to be able to fill that with solid communications and solid info and facts.
So which brands do you see performing well over the crisis? And I'll throw that one to you, Mike. Are there any particular brands that did this particularly well, and how did Mike Perot Real Estate go through the crisis?
Sure, and just coming back to the first question, we learned a lot immediately. Within a few days, I was watching how things were playing out on TV. Obviously, we all sat around the TV several times a day. The news items became important. You could see what people were thinking. Emotions were running high. So initially, I made the call to look, thinking ahead the next few weeks. I said to my marketing team, look, let's just cut all the advertising on TV right back as much as we can. That was the order. But then within a few days, I just thought it'd be a waste of time. I said that nothing's going to happen for 4 weeks. But then we turned it around within a few days, and I called a meeting, and our team and I decided that, hang on, maybe we can turn this around a bit. Maybe we just have to reassure Kiwis we're all going through this. So our message was not to be out there trying to sell houses, which most of our ads were placed, most of our marketing is positioned around listing properties and selling your house. Well, that's probably not what they want to hear when we're in a pandemic lockdown in your houses. So we used some of our old footage of me on the motorcycle riding around the countryside, and we turned that around to, working together and acknowledging that we're all in lockdown. So we actually, I said quickly, let's just reconsider our position and come out just so that we show a little bit of empathy. We could show that we're conscious that we're all in lockdown. So we thought from previous feedback, our commercial that we had, showing our beautiful country and just trying to show the people that we too appreciate what we're all going through. Let's hang together, share the pain, and we're going to come out of this showing some hope. And so we created a TV commercial through working with our producers, all online, all through Zoom, no one leaving their home. It was a real mission, but within about five working days, we turned it around and it was played on air. We got, so for us, it was brilliant. We got 10 for 1 and basically advertising spots, and our marketing really worked. And just coming back to communication, Air New Zealand had obviously major issues, some things to deal with. They were caught. Poor old Cam was thrown in front of a camera, trying to make the best out of a lot of bad news. And it's unfortunately, sadly, sad to say it, but Air New Zealand took a lot of flack. They just, for one of our most popular companies, they've had to work pretty hard recently.
Absolutely. And I mean, your experience with being agile and able to respond so quickly is a classic example of a company doing it well. And I think for the public in the Air New Zealand example, at least, that trusted brand and that loved brand, that into the radio silence, I think was unexpected from such a beloved brand. So I'll throw that back to you, Jane. Are there any other companies or brands that you saw responded particularly well? And how did Z Energy go?
Yeah, actually, it's interesting. So in May, the Colmar Brunton reputation report came out. I don't know if you've had a chance to have a look at that. And that that was the survey itself was done kind of in, I think, January, February or something, so pre-COVID. But they then actually followed up and done a bit of a few questions around how do brands show up during the COVID time, which was quite interesting, particularly in relation to their communications. And I'm just sitting here, I had a look at it earlier, and now I can't remember which brands were, but there was kind of, the supermarkets actually did really well. New World in particular, Pack and Save came out really strongly in that report. They kept things quite real. They kept focus on their customers and their staff in particular. So they kind of weren't throwing their staff under a bus. It was all about keeping their staff safe and also making sure that customers had what they needed. So I think they did a really good job. And the companies that did well tended to, like Mike said, actually stop trying to market stuff, stopping, marketing products, and actually more showing empathy, communicating kind of relevant information. Actually, you can shop online, you can, we're here, we're open, but actually don't come unless you really need us, kind of thing. So not encouraging people to come out of lockdown. So yeah, the supermarkets did really well through that period, I think.
Yeah, I mean, anything that brought connection was doing really well. So we're using this right now. Zoom was the #1 trending app as soon as COVID kicked in. People were having to operate in ways they've never done before, and here's an app that's going to allow us to do it, and suddenly it's going into it. And then Microsoft came in and said, well, we've got Teams, and then there was all sorts of press around this, and who is the best way, or who's the best person that can help you be a connected organization. A lot of stuff coming out on social media as well, with regards to those social media apps that will help people stay connected as well. But anything that helped to bring not just connection with regards to business and continuity that way, but bringing people together as well, where people felt they can find some sort of community. So on Facebook, we will know there are groups and the like on Facebook, but the group that really took off when COVID hit was the Buy Local group, which started off as a small group and then suddenly had 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 people joining it, and people just sharing, this is the stuff that I make and this is the stuff that I can create, and I want to share this with the people out there. And it's got so popular now, it's almost impossible to manage. You know, there's so much traction there. But I think Jane's right as well. You know, those businesses that were operating in a way that seemed reasonably humane, so the supermarkets, and we're taking care of our people as well as trying to take care of you. And what Mike was saying earlier as well, stop selling stuff and start brand building, start sharing it. Kind of a bit left field as well, and we might just be always thinking about marketing and products and services. But the Labour Party, as far as a political party, did really well with regards to their marketing. There was a lot of humanization there. There was a lot of space for them to actually share, this is the facts and the stuff that you need to know, but also this is the way that we try to take care of you. There were some issues with regards to some of their party members, but the marketing there was reasonably well. And the way Jacinda in particular was able to say, here's my political face, here's my professional face, and then here's my little Facebook Live stuff from home. I've just put Neve to bed and blah, blah, blah. And that humanization aspect to it as well helped a lot of people who are feeling separated, feeling like they were disconnected, feel a little bit more at home.
That's a great segue into my next question, actually. So our Prime Minister has a PR degree, and she's got 1.3 million followers on Instagram, and she's doing her Facebook Live updates. How important is social media for companies today? Throw that out to anyone who'd like to answer that.
So for us, social media is massive, and it's for a couple of reasons. It's instant. So, and we can, we talked about responsiveness earlier, and it enables us to be, really responsive to customer sentiment, or, sentiment from New Zealanders. One of the things we did through the crisis period, and we continue to do, is actually do, it's a terrible term, but social scraping. So we go through and we kind of scrape all of the kind of our social platforms, but also our competitors, to just understand kind of what the sentiment is out there for customers, how they're responding to different things that they're seeing on social, so that we can then make sure that anything that we do is kind of relevant and and hits the right kind of note, if you like. So social is particularly important, both in terms of understanding what's going on and what the customer sentiment is, but also in terms of just contacting, and engaging with customers directly. And at a time when actually media habits changed significantly through that period. So, I don't know anyone who listened to the radio during that time. They're not in their cars in the morning traveling to work, So like, that media behavior changed quite a lot. So social became quite a strong channel for us. I mean, it's always been, but even stronger.
And just with your first point, got to hand it to Jacinda, probably the most social PM we've had in history. She was very empathetic, sympathetic. She showed that she was a true Kiwi and a human, very humane on a lot of subjects that were difficult, but she played the media so well, and she had everyone she did such a great job. And so even if you didn't back Labour or the Labour government, you couldn't help thinking, wow, she's done a brilliant job here. And I think the brand that did the most, or got the most mileage, at least throughout lockdown, would have had to been the Labour Party at the expense of the National Party, or the Labour government at the expense of Simon. Just got a hiding all the way through, I think, sadly for him, and then dropped off at the end, obviously. But yeah, coming and continuing on, social media for us has been very important. I don't think it's been used as much as it has been over, if we go back 2 months, the last couple of months. Everything, while we're all sitting in our houses, every time the phone went, you reach over, oh, it's another video, it's another clip. People were using Messenger to share videos, humour, content, news. we were glued to our phones watching TVs. That's all you could really do. So I've never seen, I think my screen time went up 300%. Just everything was around what's happening, and images, videos. So messages, so Zoom, I couldn't spell Zoom 3 months ago. Now it's probably I'm sure it's the fastest growing technology in the world, and it's so brilliant. And we've got an audience out there tonight, obviously, that would, by the sound of it, 4 times the audience you'd get if it was in-house or at the university, because it's so easy. And boy, it's opened up so many opportunities. We are rethinking in our company suddenly, and we're a small company compared to Z, but we're spending a lot of time looking at digital, online, from Google Ads, looking at everything again, YouTube. And I like the term social scraping. We'll look that one up later. But it sounds, yeah, just watching the habits of people. And I think also, if you can have a campaign or a communication that acknowledges the current events of today, whether it's, you know, a result of a sports event, or obviously COVID is very topical at the moment, but try to do what our PM has done, is keep the news and even our campaigns relevant to today's news and environment, and yeah, just acknowledging the current environment we're in today.
Yeah, and I mean, I usually say when we start talking about digital media and digital transformation, it is better to not have any social media presence than to do it badly. So if you have a Facebook page that hasn't been updated in 4 or 5 years, you know, then that's not a great look for you, because it shows that you're not really engaging in this space. What COVID has shown, when there's no physical connection, when you can't get that physical, then the online social connection becomes super important. And so even just the local Thai restaurant, the one that was able to communicate, yes, we're going to be open at level 3 or level 2, and this is how we're going to do it, that was so much easier than trying to find information about it from somewhere else, or trying to find a website or something. So there were restaurants, there were small boutique stores that were missing out simply because their social media presence hadn't been established pre-COVID. So when it came to COVID, they weren't able to do it so well. And we saw this after the earthquakes as well, not just that social media was a force for distributing information, but also bringing people together. So groups that would come together and feel a sense of connection, which is so important, because you physically can't get together, because the places that would normally congregate, you know, town halls, schools, churches, might have been closed because of earthquake damage, but you were able to congregate online. Same with COVID, you can't physically get together. So using social media as a way that you can connect became really important, not just for brands, not just for Labour Party or anything else like that, but just those boutique-y small places, which might put out a message saying, you know, we miss you too, can't wait to open up, and we'll see you soon. And that sort of brand building became really important to try and re-establish that local community connection.
Absolutely. Now, I will be opening up for questions at the end, but I have had a question come in for you, Jane. The social scraping and the sentiment analysis has really sparked a lot of interest. So Gavin's just asked, how are you doing that, manually or automated? So I'll just throw that back to you on the social.
So now I'm at the risk of knowing enough to be dangerous, because I have very capable people in my team. But we did start off doing it a bit manually. That's clearly very time consuming. And then we used a software called Sprout Social, right, which, you know, kind of does it for you. And now we actually use Salesforce and Z. So we're trialing a product that they have, which connects with a whole bunch of other kind of bits of the puzzle, if you like, and testing that one out as well, because we can link that in with not just sentiment and information coming from social, but also through our what's called in moment, which is our on-site customer satisfaction surveys and things like that. So we can kind of bring it in from all sources and from our call centre and things like that. So we're sort of we've been trying a few different things over the last wee while. But yeah, definitely go with the software, because it's a whole bunch easier than doing it manually.
Oh, brilliant. Well, we'll come back to actually digital transformation. And again, Ekant, you touched on that very briefly before. That is a hot topic. How do you all see digital transformation playing out in your industries?
So let me start, because I'm teaching, co-teaching this course on digital transformation coming up in a couple of semesters in the MBA. And we've been thinking about this class for the last year. How do we teach digital transformation? And then COVID happened. I'm like, I'm really keen just to sit back and say, what did your company do? Let me learn from you, because we were forced into it. And sometimes when organically things aren't happening, an inorganic sort of sudden shock can force people into that. And what we did find, just looking at the companies out there, those that were prepared for a digital world, to operate in a digital way, were much smoother. Doesn't mean they got it right, but they were much smoother in their transition. While those that were thrust into this and had never thought about this before, or had thought about it only tangentially, really, really struggled, to the point that they're still playing catch up. Now we're back to level 1. Does that mean that we can give up? We can stop this? No. If anything, it's shown that we are able to operate in this way that's digitally, and the nature of work is changing as well. We had a lot of people who are very productive working from home, but now their managers are saying, we're at level 1, come back to work. I want to physically see you. Well, I was more productive at home. Do I need to come into the office? Do I need to spend that hour each way in traffic? All these other things which are bringing up a little bit of angst, and the nature of what our futures are going to be. Can we authentically engage with digital transformation in a way that will make all our industries better? Or are we trying to move back to what is the normal, or what we felt was the normal, because that was more comfortable for us? So those are sort of questions we're going to be talking about more, rather than, well, here's how you can set up server links and make sure people are connected, because that sort of stuff, to be honest, everyone's had to be forced into it, or you kind of, evolve or die out in this sort of case.
Yeah, there was that meme on social media, wasn't it, doing the rounds? What led digital transformation in your organisation? COVID-19. so how about you, Mike? What do you see the digital transformation in your industry? What do you see happening at the moment?
Well, yeah, following on from Ekant, we were just thrown at the deep end. We had to make it work. Yeah, we're doing a lot more now. Even I'm sure that there are less people. I'm sure the traffic on Zoom and other platforms has dropped off a bit, because we're now, a lot of us are back in offices. But I feel a lot more comfortable doing meetings like this. But most of our business has for a long time been digital. We have across the country just under a couple of hundred people out there in the agency force, marketing properties. We use a lot of technology every one of them is using all forms of digital every day. I guess we're in the unique position. We use everything from TradeMe, our CRM, everything that we do seems to be across the country using a digital format of some type. So every one of our staff are using social media every day, if not several types, messages going out. So it's about communication, and I think it's just stepped it up 200 or 300% the last few weeks. It's been a crash course, and you've had the time at home to sit down and work things out, which I thought I'd never do. So I was quite surprised when I finally opened different platforms like Google, and gosh, there must be a countless number of different platforms, but I think, well, can't be that hard, and they're all very similar. And then you start working out what works best. But we had an awards night, our annual awards, which is normally a function, and a very expensive one to celebrate our winners and prize winners. Well, we did it all online. We sent out a bottle of champagne to every one of our offices by courier a week in advance, and we had everyone in black tie and all that. And we had, the whole screen was covered with people all over the country, and we'd never dreamt to do anything like that before. But it was very cost effective too, I might add. But it was a lot of fun, and you could see what people are doing all over the country. So, it's opened up a lot of possibilities.
How about you, Jane? Do you have any sort of comments on digital transformation?
Yeah, we've been on a bit of a digital transformation journey for a couple of years now, and so we're probably fortunate that we were on that transformation. In that, we've done quite a few big platform, ERP platform kind of replacements and things like that over the years. So kind of all of that IT side of it's kind of all in a good place. And then over the last year, we've been more and more adopting, with Microsoft and the whole Microsoft suite. So we've got, you know, Surface Pros, we've got big Surface hubs that you can whiteboard and, you know, interact with. And we're moving to a more agile way of working. So we're doing, you know, kind of Post-it notes rule our world, right, which are the opposite of digital. And so we, from a kind of everybody working from home, we're all a big user of Teams as a collaboration space. And I think it was an amazing tool, actually. I think, you know, it felt seamless in terms of, we've got 500 odd people who work Z in the kind of offices around the country, so not including service stations, and everyone kind of instantly went to work from home, and it was seamless. And we started using kind of Microsoft Whiteboard to, you know, collaborate virtually, and, you know, in meetings of up to sort of 20 and 30 people. So I'd say that, you know, we had everything in place, and, you know, we were starting to kind of use it and test it out, you know, and figure out how things work. And all COVID did was actually just accelerate it significantly. And then so that was kind of internally. And then from a customer perspective, we've had digital products for our customers for a while now, and we've been building them up, you know, slowly over the last sort of 18 months. And what we've found is, again, the adoption of that has just gone, you know, as lockdown levels have decreased, the adoption of our digital products has been significant. So for an example would be, so you can pre-order your coffee. I think actually the biggest feedback that we got on our social media page was, when are you going to sell coffee again? So people were starved for caffeine. But, you know, we've got you can pre-order your coffee on our app. You know, we probably had 7 or 8% of our coffee sales going through that pre-order. Now it's closer to 30%. Amazing. You know, in a really short space of time. So people are kind of seeking out new ways of doing things, low touch or no touch, that type of thing. So yeah, I think, you know, in both senses, we were quite lucky that we had the platforms all in place, and we've been able to really leverage them.
And I wonder if some of the others can answer this as well. Sorry, Michelle, I know you're meant to be asking the questions, but we actually found a lot of engagement with these digital meeting platforms as well. Like if you organize an all-staff meeting and it's a physical forum, and you might get 40 or 50 people turn up. And then when we had it online, we had 100, 120 people turn up, and people asking questions, and it seemed to go actually a lot smoother because people are all over the place. We're busy people, we're traveling, and then suddenly if we can chuck on our phone or chuck on our laptop from wherever we are, we saw a lot more engagement. I don't know if that was just because the business school, we don't like meeting each other physically, but we're okay with the computer. But I suspect that's the same with many other industries out there. I wonder what others think.
Yeah, look, oh, you go.
No, you go ahead.
That was one of the problems with the meeting.
Actually, we did have a lot of that, and it's worse when there's a lag. And I was having a conversation today with PwC in Christchurch, somebody in Kerry, and that was the only frustration I had. In some cases, it's not too bad at all today or tonight, but some cases the frustration was the delay, and you'd get halfway through it and you'd realise someone was talking at the same time, and no one heard what they were saying. But yeah, we certainly it's certainly transformed our thinking that yeah, it is convenient. I'm sure there's someone out there that's on the side of the road watching on their phone this event, and because they've just pulled over and watching it, or they could be anywhere in the country, well, in fact anywhere in the world, can't they? I mean, there are a lot more people sharing information from the other side of the world. Jake Miller from Unfiltered, I watch a lot of his stuff, different time zone, but you can, I guess, because everyone's more aware now of these platforms, that it's a great way to share knowledge. There's no restrictions. Maybe the ticket sales to the venues where you'd pay $1,000 or $1,200 to go, now it's free access on Zoom, or so it's great. A lot of good has come out of this. Well, it's probably the only good stuff that has come out of COVID, unless you sell PPE.
Yeah. Yeah, we've moved to a Teams live function so that we can have, because we found the normal Teams kind of meeting function wasn't handling kind of more than sort of 40 odd people. So, and you know, when we have kind of company stand-ups, this has just really enabled us. We've got, you know, people all over the country in terminals and Dunedin and, you know, up north and at airports and things like that. So in the past, they've really struggled to join in when we've had meetings. You know, we'll have town halls where we actually are there and physically present, and we've struggled to kind of engage everybody or given everybody an equal opportunity to join. So what it has really leveled the playing field in terms of making available, because not only, you know, can people join, they can also, we record it and post it on our kind of intranet, and people can kind of access it at the time that suits them. So, and hear from, you know, the straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. So yeah, it's been really powerful, I think.
Yeah, definitely accessibility is a big factor, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm going to throw open the Q&A box to our fabulous audience here tonight. So we're going to tap into governance next, and good governance is essential during these challenging times. And we've also got a lot of webinar attendees from Institute of Directors. So taking a marketing lens, how would you advise boards to consider opportunities and risks in this post-COVID environment? And to those of you attending this webinar, if you go to the Q&A box, if you've got specific questions for the panel and you throw them in there, we're going to start taking questions from you guys very shortly. So, so yeah, think up your questions, but I'll throw that one open to my panel. Board governance. What do you reckon from a marketing lens?
I think what we're seeing, especially with the drive, with the use of technology, there are a lot of marketers out there who are like, look at the amazing things we could do. Look at the amazing ways we can use technology to engage in this way, to share knowledge, to share data, to gather data, to scrape data, to analyze data. And I wonder if there needs to be a sense, one of the risks is just because we can, doesn't mean we should. What is the governance around data security? What is the governance with regards to the technology security that we're using? And those things, just because we can do it, just because it's cheap or just because it's quick, doesn't necessarily mean that we should be rushing into these things. So boards in particular, when they get excited about this new idea or new technology, thinking about the risks associated with, thinking about what would happen if that data became public, or if it's not properly secured, or if they haven't thought about the risks that it has in the eyes of the consumer. So we saw the classic one, obviously, with Cambridge Analytica and Facebook, when you don't actually have full control with regards to how the data is being used and being shared and being reused afterwards. Is that something that you want to expose yourself to from a risk perspective? So every board, in my mind, from the marketing lens about understanding people, understanding how we can engage people, and understanding how we can create products and services that can reach those the needs of the people, should be thinking also about, just because we can doesn't mean we should. And what are the risks? What are the governance structures we should put in place to ensure that our customers and ourselves are safe in this sort of environment? Because we've invested in all this technology doesn't mean it's great for us long term. Let's take a really close lens over the next 6 months at least to see what can be done to keep our customers and ourselves safe.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think I feel like that's one that's good for all seasons. You know, that COVID or no COVID, data security and the risks around in that space are real, and you know, we should really have good governance practices and in that space, no matter what, right? So I totally agree with that. I think possibly the risk has heightened through COVID. With the hacking, and there was a thing in Aussie, wasn't there, recently with the government over there being hacked. So I think the likelihood of potential breaches and things is maybe more likely. So I think there's two things. One is kind of how you use your own data, and the other one's kind of, are you secure from someone else hacking your systems and your kind of data and all of that kind of stuff. For me, I think from what would I be saying to our board? In fact, I sat with our board last week. So what did I say to them then? I think going back to strategy is really important, and really considering your kind of strategy, understanding kind of the next couple of years we're going to be in a recession, right? So it's going to take a while to get out of this thing. And is your strategy, can you adapt your strategy during that time? And are you really ready for recovery. So from our perspective at Z, we've been really focusing on, we want to maintain our IP, we want to maintain our people, because they're kind of one and the same, right? And we want to make sure we've got the right capability and the right people in place so that when the recovery comes, we're really positioned to be able to make the most of that. So really looking after our people has been one of our priorities. So when we've looked to reduce costs, people was the last place that we would go. And when we've gone there, we've said, how can we do it without actually losing anybody? So we've made some decisions around, not recruiting for vacancies and stuff like that, so we can kind of manage costs and actually look after our people. So that's been really important, and not only because they're people and people matter, but also because actually they're really great people who are great at their jobs, and if we want to be ready for a recovery, we need to have them on board. It takes time to bring people back. So I think, really thinking about your people, thinking about your IP, making sure that you're really ready for recovery, because it will come at some point, but having the strategy that's right for the times that's going to see you through kind of the hard days that we've got in front of us is also kind of critically important. So probably be my two things.
I think that's really interesting. And I've got a question here from Anonymous saying, what would you do differently if you had a chance to redo your COVID response? And how has your scenario planning for future possible events changed due to your current learning? So I think that's a really interesting question.
Okay, well, from our perspective, look, I'm pretty pleased with the way things rolled out for us. We had to deal with people that were the worst scenario, maybe unlike Z, where maybe someone's missed out on filling their tank up. For us, we had people that were midstream, just about to shift into their new house, and they were told it's not happening next week. As a lot of people in the industry, I felt so sorry for people that were caught midstream. They'd sold their house, or they thought they had. So we had to deal with a lot there, and but a lot of people were pretty understanding. There was a lot of disruption. There were thousands of people, and probably people didn't understand our industry, that that it wasn't about agents wanting to get out and sell houses. It was more about helping people that were caught without a home. They'd shifted out, or they were just in temporary, or But I think across the country, a lot of people made some real compromises just to make things happen. We did get a couple of days from memory of lead up to total lockdown. Things were moved right up to the last minute, as you know, with some half completed houses. But I must say I'm proud of our team, and I'm sure for agents, for other brands, they all had to go through this. We kept all our head office people. We kept them on full pay, and I'm proud to say that we had people working from home. We just managed to cover everything really well. Yes, there was a lot less activity. There were virtually no new listings during the month of April. But when we came out, I thought, it was high fives all around. We got through. We were fortunate that, unlike big companies like Air New Zealand, we had thousands of people sitting at home on. We didn't have so many employees. We have a workforce that is pretty much performance based. So fortunately for us as a company, we stood it well. We didn't have millions of dollars worth of aircraft, billions I should say. We just had, fortunately we don't have stock. We have other people's houses that we market. So we had no stock. We had and we had no major plant, and we had employees. We had very few employees. They were all contractors. So we came through it pretty well, and that would be the same with the whole industry. But what we've learned from this is just be ready for the. This has been such a good dress rehearsal. I don't think it gets any worse than what we've just been through. Well, touch wood, it doesn't. But we in Canterbury, as some of us locals know, we've been through the earthquakes. I think we were probably more conditioned to the unbelievable than most. With 2011 was a big hit for us, and so I think Cantabrians probably related to it and adjusted to it better than most people around the country.
Yeah. And from the university's perspective, we're not an essential service, so physical spaces had to be shut down, and people were teaching online for the first time, and students were learning online for the first time, and it was a very difficult place for a lot of people. You know, this is a complex thing to learn at a university level and not have that physical engagement. And I think many people at the university, most people, did admirably. We got a lot of messages from students saying how they appreciated the videos that the Vice Chancellor and the various heads put out to reassure students. These sorts of things become really important when people are worried, people are concerned, when it's their livelihoods, like their house in Mike's case, in the student's case, it's their education and their futures. When people are worried about what that looks like, then having that sort of engagement, having that sort of forethought as well on what to do next really does help them. And I know we're talking about marketing, and I'm not sure if I'm allowed to do any marketing, but some of the sort of innovations coming out, like the business school has put this kind of scholarship together to support people who've been made redundant after the COVID and the following recession. So if you've been made redundant, you can come and get a scholarship at the business school and other schools just to start retraining and doing some things to think innovatively, to find ways that we can support the community, that we can bring people together, becomes really, really important. So it's going to be a really weird time. It's going to be a really tense time for a lot of companies, and I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon. I think Janie was talking a year or two as we start to push through this, at least. And until the borders are open, I think a lot of our tourism operators are really, really going to struggle. So finding ways that we can keep people in business, keep people together is going to be super, super important. Anything that involves that tactile function, you know, very few people buy a house without looking inside first. You know, they want to do that. And so anything that requires physicality, anything that requires tactile really took a hit. So hopefully we can start to rebuild that. We can start to recoup some of those losses quickly and then bring those businesses and those industries back.
And sort of along those lines, I've got a question from Mark, and it's actually about the live rugby. So talking about engagement, his question is, I'm interested in your view of what happened in the social interaction engagement when live rugby started, full stadiums for the first time in 15 years, and what are the implications for marketers?
I think that's a great example, to be honest, because there were a lot of people at that rugby who probably didn't even care that much for rugby, because it was an opportunity to say, we've done it. You know, it's an opportunity to have almost like a wild party with 43,000 other people. And to show the world stage that we've done it first as well. So I haven't seen the viewing numbers, but hopefully the New Zealand Rugby Union syndicated that stuff and paid top price, because it was like the first time that we're getting rugby union being played on an international scale, on an international quality level as well, with full stadiums. And that changes it from the sort of the canned approach that they have on a lot of the empty stadium stuff. But it just shows how people not just want to see the sport, and sport is a central part of a lot of culture in New Zealand, but also what it means to be together, to come and celebrate, to be part of a collective and feel like you are there at that time. So those people there will say, I remember watching that person score a try, but most people say, I remember being at the first live game after we had this global pandemic. And that for them is an experiential aspect that is going to last with them much longer than whether someone scored a try there or missed a kick there or whatever. And I think that's really cool, because we haven't seen those full stadiums in New Zealand for a long, long time. So let's see if we can get more of that back.
Excellent. Now this next question is for Mike. So this is a question from Matt. He perceives that marketing success in real estate is very dependent on those personal relationships. So that's the agent-vendor relationships. So Mike, do you think there was a major long-term impact on developing these relationships during lockdown? And, you know, what are some, if you have to do this again, a longer lockdown period, how would you deal with that?
The first message I put out to our agents was to make sure that their online was in line and relevant to the situation, and that they weren't out there for Pete's sake, don't go trying to sell houses now, or don't push your brand. In fact, the TV commercial that we put out there was more a TV message than a commercial. I called it a TVM because I didn't want it to be a TVC, and the same applied for our guys, that and in fact, I said no branding on the commercial, on the TV commercial. Take our signs out, take the logo out, take anything out, and just put a message out. If they know who I am, that's good. If they don't know who I am, that's even better. I just wanted to show New Zealand that agents aren't all about selling. It's about empathizing. It's about showing care. Because at the end of the day, I say our customers don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So show that it's not all about selling real estate, and just getting that message out there that we're here. And the message was, we'll be here when you're ready. And that would apply to a lot of brands. So it was just to show them that, yeah, we understand, we're in the lockdown too. We care about your future, the country, and so on. We're all in this together. And I used a number of different phrases, multi-phrases, that to resonate with the country and show that we care. And yeah, when you're ready, we'll be here, basically.
Nice. There's another question here, and Jane, I might target this one towards you. So lots of companies have had to pivot, sick of hearing that word, pivot, their business models. What role have you seen boards take in this pivoting of business models?
Well, my experience is that we haven't pivoted our business model as such, but we have had to look at the long-term sustainability of the organisation. We're a publicly listed company, so we have to consider whether the strategy is still right. Is there any changes in strategy? I mean, our organisation, most people see the service stations, and what they don't realise is that we also have a significant share, probably 50% of the storage facilities. We import fuel, we import crude into the refinery. We're a shareholder in the refinery, and we order any refined product about 3 or 4 months in advance. So the fuel that we were selling in April, which we were only selling about 20% of what we would normally sell, was ordered 4 months prior. So we had a whole bunch of fuel, and everything was at capacity, and so it was actually sitting in ships out in the sea waiting to be offloaded, and we had ship owners going, we want our ships back. So you just don't see that world, because you don't even kind of aware of it. And so the cost of that type of thing is amazing. So strategy, and actually how long is that lockdown going to last, how long are your sales going to be at the low levels, etc., etc. So you've really got to be considering kind of all of that. So those are the types of conversations that we're having with boards around strategy, and governance, and are we right for the times, and the other bit's that economic sustainability. So we raised equity through that time. I'm at the back of April, so we raised equity. We're also talking to our debt holders to talk to them about what we can do over the next kind of couple of years, that sort of thing. So, and kind of the self-help piece, which is how much cost can you cut? Where can you structurally cut cost so that you're sustainable going forward? So, and staying true to your strategy and kind of what you stand for. So those 4 bits of the puzzle are the really important things that we were focusing on with our board.
Okay, and I'm going to keep with you, Jane, because Ken's got a question, which is, so back to the social media, your social media strategy. So, yeah. So Ken's question is, with regard to social media, your earlier comments on social media and I guess the sentiment analysis and the scraping, does this not reinforce the need that people have of social interaction and current practices, particularly technology-driven, are not producing the necessary objectives of customer service? So if you've got any kind of...
Sorry, I'm not sure I understand the question. Can you repeat
so social interaction and current practices are important, and that I guess the limits around technology, are they not producing the necessary objectives of customer service?
I wonder if what Ken's driving at is this idea that there are some people that really want that human interaction. They would prefer to go down to the aisle where there is someone who is serving them rather than the self-checkout. And just because technology is available, some people are naturally going to want that human connection. Now, I'm not that person, to be honest. If I'm in the lounge and I can order my coffee by an app, and then I can get that ready for me, that's kind of where I'm at, because you know what, I see so many people on a daily basis that sometimes I want to slide through, but that's a personality thing. While there are other people who really want to have that physical connection. I've got a student at the moment who's looking into this sort of stuff, this idea of how connected are we to technology, especially AI technology. So we heard about the police where they have an AI system where you can report a minor crime through this AI. And are people actually going to engage with that in a better way than if they were talking with a constable or with a detective or something like that, because they feel a greater sense of connection or less connection to the technology or not? I wonder if that's what Ken's going on. I think it really depends on the person, and I think it really depends on the individual. I think if you talk to a lot of younger people where their lives are engaged in social media on a regular basis, they can have a very fulfilling in their mind relationship with someone over Instagram. And then that helps them stay connected. So when they do physically see them, it's even stronger rather than seeing them sporadically. And especially during COVID, I know my kids were trying to connect with people, Google Hangouts and Instagram all the time to feel that sort of connection with their friends. I don't know, Jane, if you want to add to that.
Yeah, I think different channels for different purposes. So, social for us is a place where people go to get information. So they go to get information. A big role that our social platforms play is kind of customer care. So people use that instead of calling a call centre because it's just easier. And then they also go there, not through COVID because we weren't actually marketing products, but also, for promotions and kind of that sort of thing. So I think it depends. I think when people do have human interaction, they have a really high expectation of how that will go. So it's kind of let technology make my life easier and quicker, and then have a person when it really matters. And when I do interact with that person, I want it to be amazing. So, I think this is what Air New Zealand have done really well over the years, right? They've taken people out of the whole experience. You don't check in with the person, you put your own bag on the thing and scan it and do all of that. You don't actually really see a person until you're at the gate, and even then you scan your own boarding pass. So, but when you do interact with a person in that kind of customer journey, you have a really great experience. So I do think, from a channel perspective, having it fit for purpose, and then when there is a human interaction, making sure that it's a really good one.
Absolutely. Now, back to the marketing side of things. So marketing budgets are under pressure, and there's a great question here from Mike. One of the first budget items to go when things get tight is the marketing budget, right? So what is your advice to businesses about spending on marketing through a recession? And there's another comment earlier, I think, in the chat, just about the kind of for businesses, things are just starting to get tough, and we'll be seeing challenges through to September, October. So what is your recommendation around that marketing budget?
I'd say that the obvious would be go for the lowest hanging fruit and the best value for money. And that's the case now and always has been in my company. We continue to practice, we look at it as, well, every company would have to do that. Every diligent marketing director or manager would be looking to, it comes down, for us, I say it comes down to effectiveness of the marketing, but also how much does it cost. We use a lot of TV. We're one of the only real estate company. We are the only real estate company that religiously uses TV to market real estate as well as all the other stuff. We had a meeting today, just earlier today, with our buyer for our TV, which we continually review. Every probably couple of months we have a meeting to discuss what we're buying at. It comes down to cost per CPT, cost per TARP, or total audience. Well, basically, it sets of eyes that we're paying for and viewership. So we're just continually looking. And for us, as we've grown from a one-man band to now where we're handling thousands of property sales a year, we're looking at the best way to communicate a message. And I must say, I keep call me old school, but television works for us. We still put a lot into digital, more than ever into digital, online and all that stuff. But television puts us up there, and for the same reason that Zed's on TV and one of the big spenders is the supermarkets. A lot of people say that TV's old hat, the silver screen, but there's still a place for it, and anyone can get online and do digital. and it's effective, and yes, it's targeted, and you can work out how much you've paid for each set of eyes. But I still think there is a place for TV. It is so effective. We get the impulsive, the non-assuming customers, the people that just glance, see in the corner of their eye while they're having breakfast, they see a beautiful home for sale in Orewa or in Invercargill or somewhere, and they can then go online and look it up. And so, yeah, so I guess it's a long-winded answer, but look, always comparing the effectiveness and the cost to buy that advertising. You've just got to continually, and more than ever before, you can negotiate hard now, and it doesn't matter whether you're buying marketing or buying, well, maybe you can't negotiate at the fuel pump the price, but in a lot of cases, this people are happy to see your custom, and a good one had to be the Maui campers. Every man, woman and child seem to have gone out and hired a camper because they feel good. They're going to see the country. They were $30, I believe, for a day. Boy, that certainly bought them some mileage. And I know it's probably not as good as getting $300 a day, but boy, suddenly everyone's aware. And I bet a huge number of the Kiwis that would never hire a camper van would be back again. And I thought that was brilliant.
That was so good. But we've got one last question here that I'm going to throw to all of you because we're sort of coming to the end of our time. Could go on for ages. But the question I'm going to finish off with is, what is the most important thing that marketers should focus on this year, or what's left of this year? So the one most important thing for marketers to focus on, so back to you, Mike, what would that be for your company?
Well, the Bee Gees had a title. It's called Staying Alive. For a lot of companies, dare I say it, just be very, be very careful and be innovative. Don't rule any possibilities out to do business. Look at everything. Everything's on the table. It's a whole new world. Your suppliers, go back to negotiate as hard as you can. And good luck to you. And let's get through this recession as quickly as we can.
Yeah, I was going to say. I wasn't going to say that because I didn't think of it. I wish I had. But I think for me, it's really around. It's fit for purpose, right? So being fit for purpose through kind of the hard road that we've got in front of us, and really kind of being efficient, being productivity for us is really high. We're thinking about how we do things really differently, how we can kind of template stuff rather than have high production costs, that kind of thing. We've moved to a more agile way of working, so agile kind of marketing processes. So kind of how we do stuff is a much more fit for purpose, and will set us up for the long term. But really also making sure that actually we look after the things that matter most. So our customers, our people, our brand. We want to be, actually this is an opportunity for us to enhance our brand reputation through this period and how we respond. So, and that will really set us in good stead for kind of any recovery that comes on the back of it.
Yeah, no, I think it's perfect answers from both people. I think from my perspective, to add to it as well, you might have capacity because there are people you want to keep employed because they're valuable to your company, but they might not be able to be doing the same roles that they've been doing before. So I think there's opportunity for redeployment, there's opportunity for upskilling. I think there's a real opportunity for us to start thinking about our customers, because it is going to be a buyer's market for a while. People are going to have choice, they're going to have opportunity there. And so thinking about customer insight, what are the things that people are truly valuing? What are the drivers of that? Is it just price? And I think when a recession hits, most companies just drive for, I'm the cheapest, but cheapest doesn't necessarily mean the best. And so finding that point of value, what are the things that customers really value? What are the things that consumers really want out of a company or a brand? And looking for that insight and then using that to maybe adapt. I'm not going to use the word pivot, but adapt, develop, be a little bit more agile, and find something that really consumers feel is that real distinguishable difference between you and your competitor. And if you can find that, they say, well, I'm going to be a loyal Z customer because loyal Z customers are this. Z values this, I value this. And that's why, because petrol is one of those things, petrol is petrol. You might disagree with me, Jane, but I don't really care where I get my petrol from. But,
You
but
should.
if you,
That's a whole other conversation.
depends on the loyalty program. But no, if you know, if you, one of the things I think Zed did really well, and I know we're going over time. One of the things Zed did really well after their rebrand was this idea of we're here to support the community. Put your little dime in there, and you can see which charity, local charity, we're going to support. And that sort of sense, we are your local petrol station. Even though we're a big brand, local petrol station, that really tapped into the zeitgeist of people wanting to support local, even though it's a big brand. So if people can emulate that, find that thing that really differentiates you from your competitors, and understand customers and what they want, and tap into that, I think you'll see those gains that are going to keep people alive, because it is going to be ruthless. There's going to be blood on the floor. So you just need that little gain to make things different, and customer insight can help there.
Absolutely. So staying alive, that's the thing. And look, I'd like to thank you all very much. So thank you very much to our webinar viewers, privileged to be on the panel. Thank you very much to Jane Anthony, Mike Perot, and Ekant Veer. An absolute delightful conversation. And yeah, so let's go forward and take some of those ideas forward. And there'll be a bunch of people starting with that sentiment analysis and scraping by the sounds of things. So,
Kia ora. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Take care.